Oh, hey camera. I'm looking for nothing in particular at all. You see, it's just one of those Wednesday nights where you feel like doing something for the sake of not being bored, and mine is pretending like I'm doing something of value. Now, eventually I'll find something here that's worthy of, being talked about. Or pawned. So, in the meantime, take it away, commentary me.
I've never been an RPG fan, never been an action RPG fan, JRPG, you get the picture. The only RPG I've been able to get into and truly play are the Persona games, and, Undertale, but I don't think that counts. Yes, I know, I've never played Final Fantasy, Earthbound, Mario & Luigi. However, I have played a little bit of Mario RPG, and that shit was gas. So, what's the cure this time?
An asterisk!
Oh, hell yeah, technicality. There's not many experiences you can get in VR that give you a true RPG experience, so we have to categorize games that are just close enough to be considered RPGs. One of these VR games that are often categorized as an RPG are none other than the one I'm here to talk about today. That being Until You Fall. Until You Fall is a beautiful game, from the gameplay to the graphics and the art style, all of which I'll talk about plenty, but first, let's run a background check on this thing, make sure there's no Among Us VR attached to it somehow. Until You Fall released in October of 2020, and it came out of the gates swinging. It was a full game, a completed, finished product. I can't believe that's a compliment for VR games now. Anyways, it was developed by none other than Shell Games. Now, many of you already know about Shell Games, or at least the games they've made. Shell Games got their claim to fame from the I Expect You to Die series, an amazing series on its own that warrants its own video someday, and oh, Jesus Christ, they made Among Us VR. This is why you're on background checks nowadays, never know when a game might have linked history to Among Us VR.
Until You Fall is a game that's been on my backlog for quite a long time. I've always been extremely interested in this game, I thought it looked amazing, but I never actually took the plunge until about 2 months ago, where I bought it on sale. And didn't play it. But hey, all that changes today. Oh boy, I hope there's walls. That shit was gas.
So, yeah, this game is kinda sorta incredible, and I think you should kinda sorta buy it the second you're able to. But also, subscribe and like, and, ooh, look over there, a bird. Just kidding. Dumbass, there's nothing there. I mentioned in a previous video that I've always loved the neon aesthetic. Now, the neon aesthetic is usually reserved for places like cities and stuff like that. Neon signs, bright lights coming from billboards, that kind of junk. Neon aesthetics don't really happen in any other places besides cities and large buildings in games. Yet somehow, Until You Fall manages to have a neon aesthetic in a place that is largely made up of grassy hills and plains. It's incredible, it's unique, and it's half the fun of this game. Not calling the gameplay bad, by the way, not by any means. Just saying it's something that you truly have to experience for yourself. The landscape is surreal, because in short, it's just hue-shifted grass. Yet it looks incredible. Every rock, stone, grass is brightly colored and saturated to a point where it turns everything neon. I can only describe it as an LSD trip, but controlled. Even the air has color. The sky will often change color also. Sometimes it'll be green, sometimes blue, sometimes fucking purple. And this goes for, like, everything. Also, the grass will change color, the flowers and plants will change colors. It's absolutely stunning. The landscape will also consist of surreal mixtures of reality and fantasy. There's these things which I can only describe as dead trees without leaves, but they glow blue light like a neon sign, and it makes for this visual that looks like something familiar but with a neon twist to it. If we entered the game right now, this was it would be just a landscape simulator, but I still think it'd at least be a visually stunning game. And I think that more VR devs need to realize that. VR games on a budget will always be limited some way gameplay-wise, and I think a good way to make people not think about the gameplay flaws as much is by having a unique landscape or world to look at while you're doing whatever you're doing. And you don't even have to make it super detailed either. Until You Fall isn't actually that crazy graphically. You can easily see the 2D textures in low poly hills sometimes, but it looks like it's crazy because it has a consistent art style and the world is built around it.
Guilty as charged, I'm a color nut. You walk up to me with the color purple, I'm gonna flip.
Let's start at the beginning, why don't we? Because we're gonna need some help from good friend context for everything we're doing, so the gameplay makes sense. The game starts us off with our vision blinded except for a spot that's a few feet in front of us. Someone speak to us, telling that they have remade us, whatever that's supposed to mean. We're the only ones who can bring, the land of Hyrule or something back to normal. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, but before you know it, bam! Thrown into a battle. This first fight is pretty inconsequential. I blacked out for 2 seconds, woke up, and he was dead. But that's not where the tutorial section thingy ends. You're just straight up thrown into a normal run. This is where you get to learn the basics of the combat, and man, is it nice! This isn't a physics-based sword fighter like Blade and Sorcery or something, and it's not trying to be. This game is strictly about focused sword combat. You have two weapons, a primary and a secondary. They start off as a sword and dagger, but you can upgrade them later onto stuff like axes and these claw things. Well, anyways, like I said, this teaches you the basics. You wail on an enemy for a minute. Gasp, what's this? A guarding system? Holy shit. This is what turns the game into a real RPG. You get your turn for about 5 seconds to wail on an enemy until, game mechanics, you need to prepare to block. You block by holding your sword or whatever you have in your hand to a position that shows up in front of you. Blocking is pretty quick most of the time, but once you block, you can wail on them again, and eventually you'll break a shield. This sequence has you slicing an enemy where the prompt tells you to, and doing so successfully within the time limit leads to the enemy dying or at least being damaged. So those are the basics. Great, cool, fucking awesome. You proceed normally until you get to be what looks like a boss room with a Dark Souls looking knight across the room. Here you'll probably think, alright, I got this, I know the basics, I can probably take this guy on, and before you know it, a monster leaps on him, killing him instantly. Oh shit. In a turn of events, you're fucked, basically. Now you can block his attacks. It's not like it's completely impossible to win. It's just, you're not gonna fucking win, loser. Who the fuck are you? And then, title card. What an introduction. Also, I might have lied a little bit. While this game is technically an RPG, it is a roguelike. So get ready to die over and over, because you will. This is where the name comes in, Until You Fall. The name of the game is to fight until you can't anymore. The introduction to this game is so simple yet so effective. It doesn't tell you everything, you still have to learn more things later on throughout the game, but it teaches you the minimum it teaches you the minimum of what you need to know and sets up a battle where you don't die instantly, but you'll most likely die, and then introduces the main premise of the game. Once you get into the swing of the game, the gameplay loop goes something like this. Enter a run, fight a good bit, die early on, earn ether, this game's currency to buy stuff, upgrade stuff, start another run, die slightly less early on, rinse and repeat. Is it repetitive? Sure, you can call it that. However, the combat was engaging throughout, and the game throws out surprises just frequently enough to keep things interesting. Every so often you'll encounter a boss and you'll defeat him and be like, wow, that sure was tough. And then that boss will show up and another regular ass enemy in future areas, and it's like, what? I think that's a great way of showing progress, though, as I remember the first time fighting this boss, I was like, damn, that was tough. But then as I kept making my way through the game, it was a regular enemy, I remember getting through it like it was nothing. In my opinion, a great way of showing progress.
So that's the most important stuff, the Until You Fall 101 for dummies. But now, it's time to talk about things that don't matter. Now, guys, I don't know if you know this, but I like music. Guys, I like music. I like playing music. Guys, look, guys, own this, guys, I like music. Please, guys, please, help me. 101 North Street. 101, they can't hear me here. What can I say? I like music.
The music in this game is absolutely incredible. I love it. It sounds straight from an 80s movie with a neon aesthetic. The electric sounding drums with a heavy echo, the guitar with reverb to make it feel powerful and spatial, it's incredible. The entire game runs with this music choice. The guitar always sounds heavy and loud, but not enough to make it feel like rock per se. If anything, instead of sounding like a workout song, it feels like motivation and a way to tell the player to push on. That's actually exactly what a workout song is, never mind, but you get the idea. Until You Fall is a really good game, a game that is fully deserving of your money. Everything from the visuals, to the gameplay, to everything in between is nothing short of near perfection. Anyways, back to you, me.
Oh, hey, I got too lazy to end the video, so I'm gonna end the video myself. Now, what did I find scrounging, you say? An iPod and Persona Q. I really need to reevaluate my self-worth. You see, it's just one of those Wednesday nights where you feel like doing something for the sake of not being bored, and mine is pretending like I'm doing something of value. Now, eventually I'll find something here that's worthy of, So, in the meantime, an asterisk! Until You Fall is a game that's been on my backlog for quite a long time. Until You Fall is a game that's been on my back. Oh boy, that shit was gas! I like. Own this, guys, I like.